unused to the climate. I think that if man ever found a place to live easy and happy, that Eden is on Puget Sound. Eden is on Puget Sound. That Eden is on Puget Sound. A place to live easy and happy. That Eden is on Puget Sound.
Hello, you are listening to the Seattle Files. My name is Chris Allen, I'm your host. Every week I get together with a different local comedian, and together we discuss the strange, unusual, interesting, and oftentimes lesser-known aspect of our local history. Joining me today is the fantastic Kate Jaeger. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Kate is an ensemble member in Jet City Improv. She is a member of the group Fun Bucket. She is also in the show Every Movie is a Musical that performs fairly regularly. She is also a legitimate actress and a Gregory Award-winning actress.
Oh, stop. That old thing?
Having won a Gregory Award for her performance in Village's production of Les Miserables last year, as well as a very good friend of mine.
All of these things are true.
All of them are true, yes. So, Kate, how long have you lived in the Seattle area?
I've lived in the Seattle area about 10 years now. Prior to that, I lived all over the place, but I spent a few years down further south in the Gig Harbor area. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I now live up here, technically in Shoreline. God loves Shoreline.
Our neighbors to the north.
Our neighbors to the north. Yeah, we speak a different language here.
Cool. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally born in Atlanta, Georgia, and then grew up in both Colorado and California. Oh. So Colorado Springs by Pikes Peak Mountain and San Diego County area.
How did you end up out here?
I literally came here on vacation with my parents when I was about 12 to Seattle and stepped out of the car, looked around and told my parents I will live here someday. And always knew that this would be my destination.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you fulfilled that childhood dream.
I did.
How many people fulfill their childhood dreams?
I mean, seriously. I mean, luckily mine was rather achievable. I didn't say something like, I will be Speaker of the House by the time I am 24 or something dumb like that. So, yeah, live your dream. And now I'm done. I have no more dreams.
That's good that wasn't your dream because you actually can't do that. I don't think you can run for Congress until you're 25 or Senate until you're 30.
Well, that's, and also I'm not real smart.
That's an obstacle. Although not necessarily. There's a lot of real dumb. Not that you are smart, and there's a lot of real dumb congressmen.
I are smart. Thank you.
You are smart indeed. How much do you know about the history of your adopted homeland?
I don't know a ton because I didn't go to school here, so I don't know the Washington State song or anything like that, or sort of the history as much.
I'll let you in a little secret. The people that did grow up here and did go to school here also don't know very much about our local history, so I would not feel bad about that.
Right in.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So you have no idea what we're going to be talking about today, correct?
I do not.
Excellent. So let's get started.
Yes, let's.
Story today starts June 28th, 1969.
Ooh.
In New York City.
Ooh.
In Greenwich Village, there was a bar called the Stonewall Inn.
Okay.
Which catered to gay men.
Yes.
Police raids on gay bars were common at the time, and homosexuality and cross-dressing were arrestable offenses.
Yes. Dark times.
Dark times, indeed. The bar was run by the mafia. They paid off the cops once a week because it was an illegal bar with no liquor license and no running water.
Oh, that I did not know.
The inside of the bar was painted black and was dimly lit. Raids still did occur, but the bar owners were tipped off ahead of time. June 28th, 1969, at 1:20 in the morning, 6 police officers entered the bar to make arrests. A gay bar at the time could be expected to be raided about once a month. But this raid did not go according to plan.
No, I am shocked.
Are you shocked? Yeah. There were over 200 patrons in the bar, and the crowd began to form outside, attracted by the police cars and the commotion. Unlike other raids, tonight's the gays were not going to go quietly. People started throwing beer bottles and rocks at the police, and a riot broke out. The rioters lit the building on fire, physically fought with the police, and overturned a car. There was national news coverage of the event, and on the 1-year anniversary of the riots, the first gay pride marches were held in New York, Chicago, and L.A.
If I had to title those riots, I might call them the Stonewall riots, but that is only because I'm clever.
Because you're very clever, yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just pulled those two things together.
Yeah, you have heard of the Stonewall riots,
yes.
of course. Yeah. The Stonewall riot is considered to be one of the largest turning points and most significant events in the history of the gay rights movement.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, yeah. And of course, the gay pride marches still go to this day. Yep. And now it's just called Pride, which is fantastic. By an incredible coincidence, on the other side of the country here in Seattle, a few days after the Stonewall riots, July 7th, 1969, University of Washington professor Nicholas Heer opened the doors on Seattle's first gay rights organization, the Dorian Society. The Dorian House offered counseling and employment assistance for out homosexuals. Dr. Deischer of the Dorian House stated one of its goals is, quote, is to assist with the education of the straight community so that they can understand homosexuality and homosexuals. People shouldn't look at homosexuality as an oddity.
That is awesome.
And the Dorian House is largely considered the first organization of its kind in the nation.
I have to imagine that maybe up in the attic there's a picture of a gay man just getting older and older and older, while the guy who founded it just stays sassy fresh.
Oh yeah, sassy fresh. I do believe actually that's what it was actually named after a portrait of Dorian Gray, because Oliver Wilde was gay.
Oh right,
and
he was Oscar
Wilde. What did I say?
Oliver
Wilde. Oscar Wilde. Yeah, Oscar Wilde was gay, and he actually was with the poem "The Love That Dare Not Speak Its Name," and he was convicted of homosexuality and sentenced to hard labor, and he ended up dying from that.
Look at me making connections.
Yeah, you go, girl. You got it.
Smart.
Mm-hmm. So let's jump back a few years then. Shelly Bauman was born July 23rd, 1947. She grew up in Chicago and studied classical dance as a young girl. When she was 16, her father committed suicide, and her mother told her that the man who raised her actually wasn't her father and kicked her out of the house.
Oh.
So rough upbringing.
Yeah, that does not bode well for future.
No, it's not a good situation she's in so far. She drifted around the country, became a stripper, and was homeless for a time. Things aren't going great.
So let's get off on a good path. Also, the theme to one of my favorite Pearl Jam songs. Your dad's not your dad. I'm out. Never mind.
All right. In 1968, at the age of 20, she landed in Seattle and stayed for a time with a family in Rainier Valley.
Okay.
So she drifts around the country for a while. A few years later, ends up out here. She continued dancing and made some friends in Seattle, including two men named Joe McGonigal and Pat Nesser, who lived in a large house in the Central District where they were frequently hosts for the Seattle gay party scene.
Oh.
So she moved in with them shortly after.
Okay.
McGonigal and Nesser's home, nicknamed Villa May, was a wild place with lots of drinking, drug use, and dancing.
Okay, I'm in already.
Yeah, totally, right? And Shelly Bauman fit right in. This was exactly the kind of place she was looking for. July 14th, 1970. A French restaurant in Pioneer Square hosted a Bastille Day parade.
Ooh.
Am I right? The storming of the Bastille.
Flan.
Close. France and Mexico border. So,
yeah.
Shelly and her friends decided to attend the event.
Like you do.
A Bastille Day parade, yes. The parade was a small affair, going from about 1st and Yesler down Occidental Plaza and back, a distance of about 3 blocks round trip.
Okay.
3 blocks, not much of a parade.
3 blocks, Pioneer Square, smells like pee. Got it? I'm
always smells like pee in Pioneer Square.
Always
has, always will. There were 2 French-made cars and a pickup truck with a Dixieland band in the back.
I think that they are confused.
Because a Dixieland band isn't really French. And a French-made cars a parade does not make. The grand finale of the parade was a vintage fire truck. On such a truck, there are cannons, which can be loaded with gunpowder and used to shoot lifelines with grappling hooks to the top of tall buildings.
Okay.
So old fire trucks, they used to have the big cannons, and they would shoot, like Batman style, shoot the lines up so they could climb up or people could rappel down.
Not gonna lie, that's super badass.
It's pretty fucking cool, yeah. Fire trucks today, I don't think they have those.
No, we have ladders.
Yeah, you could learn.
And water pressure that is always the same.
Oh, yeah.
And we're faster.
Oh, yeah. Less lives are lost. Oh, yeah. Big shots today.
Yeah.
Tonight, the cannon was loaded with gunpowder and confetti.
Nope. Just nope. I mean, just in general. Sorry, go ahead.
The firing pin was safely removed until the proper time when it could be fired over the crowd and confetti would rain down on the partiers.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. The cannons had been used for this purpose several times in the past.
Okay.
They knew what they were doing. They have a plan.
Look,
they're set. They're ready to go.
Nothing says glitter like gunpowder. Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A good time was being had by all. There was plenty of drinking in the streets. People were climbing up on the fire truck. In a drunken revelry, many, including Shelly herself, rode the cannon.
Oh, Mom is proud.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to ride a cannon in a Bastille Day parade.
Sounds like a Katy Perry video.
Yeah. The band played, fireworks were set off, the crowd drank, and everyone seemed to be having a marvelous time. Then...
Wait, there's a... No, Chris, there can't be a then.
Disaster struck.
No! Nothing could have possibly gone wrong.
It is unclear what the exact sequence of events was that followed. It is believed...
I'm going to bet it started with drinking. Go ahead.
To continue the sentence, it is believed that alcohol...
I'm a jerk, sorry.
Alcohol was spilled into the cannon, turning the confetti into a single wad of wet paper.
No, this is worse than I thought.
The cannon, facing the crowd, went off and shot the wad of wet paper directly at Shelly Bauman.
No.
It is unknown if the cannon was set off accidentally by a firecracker or intentionally by a partygoer. In a deposition, Shelly later stated that the last thing she saw was the cannon pointing at her and then heard an explosion. She awoke on the street, having been struck in the abdomen. Her whole side was blown out and there was blood everywhere.
Okay, I have to say that I don't know what's worse, the fact that she got hurt or that it was just like glittery death. Like, I feel like that just adds just a whole level of insult to injury because you know that, like, the shrapnel just is a reminder of just this glittery sadness.
Glittery sadness, yeah.
Oh, which is my emo band name, by the way.
Well, a doctor who happened to be on the scene rushed to tend to her wounds and kept her from bleeding to death.
Oh, good.
So she survived. She did survive.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad way to go, being shot by a confetti cannon.
Oh, but I just gotta imagine you're shitting glitter for the rest of...
Yeah. Like people getting in car accidents or pushing glass out of their skin. I'd never thought about that. But, yeah, that's horrible. She was rushed to Harborview Hospital, where doctors removed parts of her pelvis, intestine, and her left leg, and were able to save her life.
I think she needs those, though.
Yeah, you do tend to need those. Those are important for functions, but you can't live without them.
Okay.
She spent 9 months recovering and was confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her life.
Jeez.
She was 23 years old.
Shelly, no.
Yeah.
There goes her dancing career.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. So she's not having a great go of life so far. Things are not going very well. But things turn around.
Okay.
Her first act, when she got out of the hospital, was to file a series of lawsuits against the parade organizer, the owner of the fire truck with the cannon, and the city of Seattle. After 3 years of legal battles, she and the defendant settled out of court for $330,000.
All right.
A little over $2 million today, adjusted for inflation.
That's 70s money.
So what does a one-legged stripper living in a gay party house with that kind of money do in 1973?
Blow?
She opened a gay disco.
Yes! Yeah. Shelly!
Seattle's first disco of any kind.
Yes.
And she named the disco Shelly's Leg.
I love Shelly.
Isn't she great?
I love Shelly.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Other options they considered were the Great White Swallow and the Organ Grinder. But apparently they couldn't get permits for those. So they named the bar Shelly's Leg.
Nice.
Shelley, along with Joe McGonigal and Pat Nesser, purchased a 3-story brick building on the corner of Alaskan Way and Main Street, under the Alaska Way Viaduct in Pioneer Square. Those seeking directions to Shelly's Leg were told it's at the foot of Maine. Because Shelly's Leg. Mm-hmm. Pioneer Square was the gay neighborhood in Seattle at the time. Pioneer Square had been the quote-unquote bad part of town ever since the 1850s, really. And in a bad part of town, people could tend to do what they wanted and have others leave them alone.
Right.
Pioneer Square was Seattle's original queer neighborhood.
Oh.
And was for many, many years. It was actually for a long time one of the considered one of the most gay tolerant places in the United States.
Well, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Until they migrated up the hill more.
Yeah. McGonagall was already the co-owner of a bar called the Golden Horseshoe, one of many gay bars in Pioneer Square at the time. Others included the Trojan Shield, Columbus Tavern, and the Double Header, possibly the longest continually operating gay bar in the United States. The Double Header, by the way, is still open today. Any idea on when it opened?
The Double Header? Mm-hmm. When it opened? No.
1934.
Yes,
it
Double
opened as a
Header.
gay bar in 1934.
Okay, so I have seen the Doubleheader, and I just always assumed because it was in Pioneer Square that it had to do with the Mariners because of baseball.
Yeah, most people think that.
That is...
The story that I've heard is actually
awesome.
It was called the Double Header because it had men's and women's bathrooms.
Ah.
And so it was two heads, but the Double Header. But it was a gay-friendly bar that opened in 1934.
This makes me want to go there
and
now.
survived all of the raids, all the pushing out, all that happened, and it's still open to this day.
Go Doubleheader.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
Gay bars were nothing new in the neighborhood, but Shelly's leg was different in several ways. It was a dance club that didn't feature live music. This is in the early days of disco, and Shelly's Leg was the first in town to have a professional DJ setup with 2 turntables, monitor speakers, and equalizer, and all the other bells and whistles that are commonplace now.
Right.
The Seattle Times columnist Eric Lacidis wrote in a review, quote, "The DJ tries to continually build up the mood in the disco by the record he plays. One record segues into another, sometimes so perfectly that the end drum beat of one song is immediately followed by the beginning drum beat of the next song. There is never a break between songs."
Oh my gosh, did we invent dance clubs? 'Cause that is awesome.
It's kind of happening around the country, but and around the world, but this is the first time it's happening in Seattle.
That's fantastic.
But it's the kind of thing where it's so commonplace now, but it would blow people's minds if you'd never heard that before. If you've never heard 2 songs being mixed together seamlessly,
it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, and also a lot cheaper than live musicians who have to, take breaks and pee and things like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd like to see them seamlessly go from one song to another.
Yeah. Not possible.
Stupid humans.
Yeah. Why don't you become a machine?
Yeah. Beep, bop, bork.
Yeah. Possibly. This was also quite a different kind of gay bar than the ones that were already around. This was not a small, dark place where like-minded homosexuals could meet anonymously. This was a bright, flashy, bold establishment.
I want to go to there.
Yes. I didn't write this in my notes, but during the research I actually found there was a place called the Garden of Allah that was a gay cabaret that was open in the late 1940s, early 1950s, and I will probably do a whole episode on that because that place sounded amazing.
That's awesome.
Just amazing. But a lot of the gay bars obviously are going to be, because homosexuality is still very illegal, very persecuted, they're going to be small, very anonymous, dark kind of places. But outside this bar was a 4-foot by 8-foot sign declaring in bright letters, "Shelly's Leg is a gay bar, provided for Seattle's gay community and their guests."
I love it.
Yeah, so this bar was out.
Yes.
It was not closeted. It
That's
was not anonymous.
fantastic.
It was complete. It was huge, big, bold, bright lettered sign.
I love this.
Right out in the front door saying, "This is a gay bar."
And this was 1970?
1973.
Okay.
And homosexuality was still illegal in Washington state. So to put that on your sign, advertising it to the world was quite a statement.
Yeah.
And consensual sodomy was still illegal in Washington until 1975.
Boo.
Boo indeed. Well, not boo that it's legal now,
Yes,
but boo that
that
it
it
was
was
illegal up until 1970.
Let us be clear.
Let us be clear, exactly. I will turn on you so fast, Kate Jaeger.
I am for butt sex.
Yes. Shelley's longtime friend Joe David is quoted as saying, quote, "People got dressed up to the max. It was the place to be seen."
Nice.
Not a place to be anonymous. Another regular, John Otto, said, quote, "It was a different sort of glamour, though, because Seattle had this earthiness, this grittiness, this subliminal nature that places like L.A. have never had. L.A. has a dark underbelly, but it's a bright, shiny, superficial place. Seattle gets deep. So even though glamour is what we strived for, there was a depth to it as well."
It's called grunge.
Yeah.
It's in our veins.
It is. This is long before grunge. This is, yeah. So grunge started from disco is what we're learning here now. The club was an immediate hit. There were lines out the door every night of the week, and was frequented by both straights and gays. It was, to put it mildly, a wild place. There was a side door with a Rolodex of VIPs who were let into their own entrance.
Yes. First of all, Rolodex.
Rolodex,
Gotta
yeah.
love it.
I gotta love a Rolodex.
For those of you who are joining us who don't know, those were written on things called paper. Just think of like a Kindle or an iPad, but made of a tree.
Yeah, so they give you chop down a tree, and you mix the bark of the tree with water and turn it into a pulp, and then flatten out the pulp and then write things on it. Yeah. That's paper.
Yeah. It's very handy for quick looking up of things.
It is, yeah. And then they put the paper onto a wheel.
Yes, so that you can spin it.
Like when you have an iPod, not touch, and that's the thing that you put your finger around. That's the wheel.
I don't even remember those.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Phones used to have cords. Anyway.
Preferential treatment was given to minors with fake IDs.
I love this place.
Yeah, I want to go there. Rampant sex and drug use was happening in the bathrooms.
I'm surprised. I'm shocked.
Yeah,
shocked,
shocking, right? Exactly. Straight discos, in 1975, Shelly said in an interview, quote, "Straight discos don't have the capability or sense to put together something like this. We've been crowded the past 9 months. Every night, about 9:30 p.m., it's like 3 Greyhound buses full of people descending on us. The word is just out that this is the place to come and dance. It's gotten to the point where you can't tell who's straight and who is gay."
Melting pot of America.
Yeah, it's the American dream right
Right
there.
there.
There is a slow but sure visible increase in the mainstream acceptance of homosexuality. The Seattle Times columnist Eric Lycidas, quote, "The popularity of Shelly's is another example of fashion setting by homosexuals, who have set trends, for example, in clothing and hairstyles." He's really breaking the story there.
Well, and as we all know through history, it was in the early 1970s that acceptance of gays became universal, and then they never had to struggle again.
I'm still shocked when I talk to people who think that homosexuality is something new. When they learn about it happen, they learn about homosexuality like 100, 200 years ago. Like, even back then?
No, what now? Hold on just a minute. Oh, what you're telling me is a boy loving another boy? That's in history?
Mm-hmm.
You just blew my damn mind.
Yeah, no, you can go back.
You just blew my goddamn mind.
Go back to Greek and Roman history. Go back all the way. Shelly Bauman had created the hottest spot north of San Francisco, but was plagued with personal problems. Her friend Joe David said, quote, "She was glamorous. That was part of what she wanted to maintain, and she was bored as hell being in a wheelchair. She called herself a fag hag. That's the first time I ever heard someone call themselves that openly. I think because that provided her with the glamour she needed, and she dressed beautifully and wore the largest, most outrageous platform shoe she could find. She'd buy a pair and ditch one. She wanted everything, but what she wanted most in life was to be a full woman and free of her wheelchair, but that was lost forever. So she had to distract herself by surrounding herself with wild and crazy people."
Shelly, no.
Shelly moved to West Seattle and adopted 2 Doberman pinschers, which she named Satan and Lucifer. Because of course she did.
Subtle.
Yeah. She could be seen on the Alki Boardwalk in her wheelchair, dressed in fine furrows, jewelry, and 1 platform shoe, yelling for Satan and Lucifer to behave.
I have to say, though, she was onto something, because the only really safe way to walk in platform shoes is not to walk in them.
Yeah, that's true.
So, good on her for that.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. The glory days of Shelly's leg lasted only about 2 years. Remember, the bar was located under the Alaska Way Viaduct.
I do remember that. At the foot of Maine.
That's true. Yeah, you could find your way there now.
Yeah.
On December 4th, 1975, at around midnight, a semi-tractor pulling a gas tank was driving along the viaduct.
Oh, no.
When the vehicle was accidentally detached from the massive gas tank behind it.
Oh, no.
The semi drove on, leaving the gas tank behind, which under its own momentum dropped off the edge of the viaduct and exploded on the street just in front of the club.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So wait, now what you're telling me is that the viaduct has always been unsafe as well.
Yes.
What? You just blew my goddamn mind. Boom.
Yes, there's always been homosexuality, and the viaduct has always been unsafe. So if you only take 2 things away from this podcast, take that away. 30 cars went up in flames.
Oh my God.
17 of them were completely incinerated, and the windows of Shelly's legs were blown out.
Jeez.
No one in the club was hurt.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and you know why?
Why?
You could still smoke inside.
Oh.
Because,
no one was outside.
Clubs and bars and things like that now, everybody's smoking outside. But there were probably a couple of people hanging around outside, but everybody was inside. That's my theory on why no one was hurt. Because you can't smoke in bars anymore.
I was thinking it was because everyone was in the bathrooms.
Just one person walks in through the front, and it's just empty. They're like, hello? Is there anybody in here?
We're back here having sex and doing drugs.
And then there's just 2,000 people crammed into the bathrooms. The club was renovated, but never recovered. No one can agree on when it closed.
Ooh.
Either 77, 78, or 79, due to decrease in attendance and rumors of back taxes owed to the IRS.
I have to imagine it had something to do with Star Wars, too, because depending on, which one, came
Everybody,
out.
people don't want to go
Yeah,
to
they were like, so now that I can watch Star Wars, I'm out.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go to the theater every day, because we don't have VCRs yet. Shortly after Shelly's leg closed, its former manager, Ken Decker, opened up a new gay disco called the Brass Door on Harvard and Pike, a marker in the shift in the gay subculture in Seattle to its new home in Capitol Hill, where it thrives to this day.
Yeah.
And hopefully will continue to thrive if Amazon does not destroy Seattle. I was up on Madison, and it was Madison and 12th, I think, and there was a sign for one of those sandwich signs for condos, and somebody had spray painted "Die Techie Scum" across it, and it made me laugh really hard.
Oh, it's gotten real broy up on the hill.
It's gotten real bad, yeah.
And it's legitimately sad and scary how it's changed over the last couple years.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah,
very quickly.
But I have faith that we can hold on to our hill.
Yeah, I hope so.
Are you listening, Jeff Bezos? Also, you should give us money. So I might be conflicted here. I'm out. Okay.
After the closing of her club, Shelly used her settlement money to move to Hawaii, where she worked with a healer, and her pain began to subside.
Oh.
But then lost all her belongings in a fire.
Shelly.
Yeah.
Shelly. She's just had a really shitty life.
She has. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's been hard for her. She then went to Florida and lived in Fort Myers in a trailer by the water.
Well, here's the deal. Moving to Florida, also just sad because it's Florida.
She's living on the water.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, until Fort Myers was hit by a hurricane in 2002, and once again she lost everything.
Shelly! No.
Yeah. After the hurricane, the Red Cross gave her $750, which she used to get a flight back to Seattle, where friends could help her get back on her feet, so to speak. I didn't mean that as I realized as I was reading the words what that sounded like.
Boo.
Mm-hmm. She moved to Bremerton, where she lived until her death in 2010 at the age of 63.
Oh.
The building that used to house the infamous gay bar is now condos.
Ugh. Well, now I'm sad.
Yeah. The original 4-foot by 8-foot sign that proudly read, "Shelly's Leg is a gay bar provided for Seattle's gay community and their guests," is on permanent display at the Museum of History and Industry.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know
you
that.
can go see it.
I'm a little sad that there is a chance I could have gotten to, I lived here then. I should have known Shelly.
Yeah. She was out in Bremerton.
That's badass.
Yeah.
I had no idea that we had such a history of that so early in those 1970s.
Yeah. And the Seattle's gay history goes back obviously much farther than that, and there was a lot of acceptance in pre-McCarthy times. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do an episode on the Garden of Allah, and I'll probably do another episode just on gay history in Seattle, because I found a whole lot of really fascinating information.
So in your research, did you find was Shelly's Leg plagued with police shutdowns, or
I didn't find a lot of that.
Kind of...
I didn't find a lot of that, to tell you the truth. because in the entire history of Seattle, there's a big push-pull, and for a long time it was called closed city versus open city advocates.
Yeah.
And the closed city advocates were saying, let's look the other way. And the open city advocates, are saying, let's look the other way to vice and crime and things like that. And the closed city advocates are saying, no, let's crack down on that. And the mentality in a lot of time periods is, as long as people are kind of doing what they want on their own side of town and not bothering anyone else, who cares?
Well, let's face it, before marijuana became legal here, it was still, like, in the several years leading up to it, like, if you were caught smoking pot outside, the cops would really be like, I mean, really? You guys, come on.
Well, yeah,
hey,
it was voted the lowest priority for law enforcement. And yeah, people, I mean, I've known a lot of cops that said that they've never arrested anyone for weed unless they were arresting them for something else and they were being assholes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of mentality of let's just leave people on their own side of the tracks, and if they're not bothering anyone, then who cares?
See, this is the problem. You're doing this podcast, and we're telling all these awesome stories about Seattle, and we already have too many people moving here. I feel like this is going to be a couple. You may be part of the problem now.
I don't think so. Here's what I think though. People that are moving here now don't care about the history, so they're not going to be listening to the podcast.
True enough.
And that's that's not universally true, but I think that a lot of the culture that's coming here now is, I'm going to come here, I'm going to make a whole bunch of money and live here for a couple of years, and then I'm going to leave.
And I mean, I must say, I'm a transplant too, so,
Well, Seattle is, I mean, it's made of transplants. There's not a whole, I mean, there's obviously a fair amount of locals, but it's always been the place that people come to, and it's been growing steadily since, the 1970s or so. That's always made up the culture. It's just there's a massive influx now, and everybody is moving to downtown.
And I just have to, this is going to be the most controversial thing that will ever be said on your podcast. Be ready to bleep out the entire next moment of what I'm about to say.
Well, thank you for listening to the Seattle Files.
I just have to say, the Seattle freeze, if you're experiencing it, shitty people. Meet some improvisers, is what I'm saying.
That's okay, yeah. Shitty people. I don't know. I've gone to visit other places, and I found that there's much more stranger eye contact of things.
But that just makes me feel weird.
Makes you feel weird?
Yeah. Plus, I grew up in the South, and I mean, they're all about eye contact and
talking to strangers
and sugar tea, but they will stab you in the back so fast. It's terrifying.
Wow. Got a little bit of accent coming out there as you talk about it.
It all came out. No, I don't need to lick people in the eye that I don't know. I'm like a gorilla that way.
Very territorial.
Yeah. Or unless I have a chance to pee on you, then everything's fine. What? Well,
thank you for listening to the Seattle Files. Thank you so much, Kate, for being here.
It was my pleasure to make things weird, especially at the end.
Tune in next week, or subscribe on iTunes, like us on Facebook. There'll be new episodes every Tuesday. I'll be back with a new guest and a new topic. If you have a suggestion for something you would like to hear an episode about, shoot me an email at theseattlefiles@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next Tuesday with a new guest and a new episode. Thank you again, Kate.
Thank you.
Again, Kate.
Thank you.
Again, Kate.
Thank you.
Again, Kate.
Thank you.